Right now, someone in your life is rewriting your reality. You feel it but can't name it. That conversation where you left feeling confused about what actually happened. The relationship that felt amazing until it didn't. The moment you started questioning your own memory. These aren't accidents, they're techniques. Manipulation doesn't announce itself with dramatic music and villain monologues. It slips in quietly, wearing the mask of love, concern, or even helping. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on every major manipulation technique, and more importantly, how to break free from each one. Picture this. You're holding a red apple. Someone looks at you with complete sincerity and says, "It's blue." Not just once, but consistently, patiently, as if you're the confused one. Eventually, you start wondering if maybe you're colorblind. That's gaslighting in its purest form. But real gaslighting is rarely that obvious. It's more like someone slowly adjusting the dimmer switch on your confidence until you can barely see your own truth. You remember a conversation clearly. They tell you it never happened. You express how something made you feel. They tell you you're being too sensitive. Not to disagree with your feelings, but to make you question if those feelings are even valid. The genius of gaslighting isn't in the lie itself. It's in the delivery. Calm, confident, almost concerned for your well-being. They're not trying to convince you they're right. They're trying to convince you that you're wrong about your own experience. Over time, this creates something psychologists call reality distortion. Your internal compass starts spinning. You begin seeking their approval for your own memories, your own emotions, your own version of events. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. Gaslighters often target your vulnerabilities, your insecurities, the places where you already doubt yourself. They'll find that one area where you feel uncertain and slowly expand it until uncertainty becomes your default state. The most insidious part? You often don't realize it's happening until you're deep in it, standing in your own life, feeling like a stranger. The antidote to gaslighting starts with documentation. Write things down. Not because you're building a case, but because you're preserving your reality. Trust your emotional reactions, even when someone tries to explain them away. Your feelings are data, not opinions up for debate. And here's something crucial. Stop trying to make someone understand something they're pretending not to get. When you stop explaining yourself to someone who's invested in misunderstanding you, that's when you start taking your power back. Love bombing feels like winning the emotional lottery. Suddenly, you're not just liked, you're worshipped. They're texting you good morning before you wake up and good night after you sleep. They're talking about forever on date 2, calling you their soulmate before they know your middle name. Every song reminds them of you. Every sunset makes them think of your eyes. It's intoxicating because it feeds a deep human hunger to be seen, valued, chosen. But here's the thing about love bombing. It's not about love at all. It's about creating an artificial high that becomes impossible to walk away from. Think of it like emotional cocaine. The rush is immediate and overwhelming, but it's not sustainable, and it's not real. Love bombers study you like a science experiment. They're not falling for who you are, they're crafting who they need to become to make you fall. They mirror your interests, echo your values, become the perfect puzzle piece for your exact shape. But this perfect person never actually existed. They were a character being performed. And once you're hooked, once you're addicted to the intensity, the mask starts to slip. They go cold, they pull back, they become distant, critical, unavailable. And because the withdrawal feels so brutal after the high, you start chasing that original feeling. You blame yourself for the change. You wonder what you did wrong, how you can get back to that magical beginning. This creates something called intermittent reinforcement, which is one of the most addictive psychological patterns known to humans. Occasional rewards after periods of nothing keep you more hooked than consistent positive treatment. It's the same principle that makes gambling addictive. Love bombers understand this instinctively. They create the high, then withdraw it, then give you just enough to keep you hoping. The defense against love bombing is patience. Real connection unfolds slowly. It reveals itself through consistency, not intensity. Someone who truly sees your worth doesn't need to perform it dramatically in the first week. They show it through steady presence, through actions that match their words, through respecting your pace as much as their own. If someone is trying to build something serious before trust even has time to form, they're not offering you love, they're offering you a performance. And you don't owe anyone an encore. Guilt tripping doesn't announce itself with dramatic accusations. It slips in with a sigh, a pause, a look that somehow communicates disappointment without saying a word. Well, after everything I've done for you, I guess I just thought our friendship meant more. I would do anything for you, but apparently it doesn't go both ways. These phrases land like tiny emotional bombs, creating craters of guilt where your boundaries used to be. The manipulator isn't asking for what they want directly. They're making you feel bad for not giving it freely. This technique transforms every act of kindness into a debt, every favor into leverage, every moment of care into currency they can spend later. It operates on the assumption that if someone has been good to you, you now owe them something. But here's the trap. The debt is never clearly defined, the payment is never enough, and the contract was never one you agreed to sign. Guilt tripping works especially well on empathetic people, those who naturally attune to others' emotions. When you sense disappointment, tension, or hurt feelings, your instinct is to repair the connection, to smooth things over, to make it right. Guilt trippers exploit this instinct, turning your emotional intelligence against you. They create a problem your caring nature feels compelled to solve. The most sophisticated guilt trippers make you feel like you're being selfish for having needs, ungrateful for having boundaries, cold for not automatically saying yes. They don't argue with your decision directly. Instead, they make the emotional environment so uncomfortable that maintaining your boundary feels harder than giving in. This creates a psychological phenomenon where you start editing yourself before you even speak, anticipating their disappointment, shaping your choices around avoiding their emotional reactions. Over time, you can lose touch with what you actually want because you're so focused on preventing what they don't want to feel. Breaking free from guilt tripping requires separating real guilt from manufactured guilt. Real guilt comes from your own values, when you've actually done something that conflicts with who you want to be. Manufactured guilt comes from someone else's emotional manipulation, when you've simply failed to meet expectations you never agreed to. You're allowed to hold your boundary even if someone else punishes you for it. Their disappointment doesn't automatically become your responsibility to fix. Imagine you're in an argument, but instead of facing one person, you're somehow facing an entire invisible jury that's already reached their verdict. That's triangulation. Instead of dealing with you directly, the manipulator pulls in third parties to strengthen their position, creating a psychological triangle where you're always outnumbered. Sarah thinks you're being unreasonable too. Everyone at work has noticed you've been difficult lately. Even your mother agrees with me. Suddenly, you're not just defending your position against one person, you're defending it against this shadowy chorus of disapproval that may or may not actually exist. The genius of triangulation is that it makes you feel isolated and ganged up on without anyone else actually being present. The manipulator becomes the spokesperson for this imaginary coalition, and you find yourself defending your reality against witnesses who never actually witnessed anything. This technique shows up constantly in toxic family dynamics. One parent complains about a child to another child instead of addressing the issue directly. Siblings are pitted against each other through selective storytelling. The parent maintains control by being the central hub of information, deciding who knows what, when, and how. In romantic relationships, triangulation might involve bringing up ex-partners, friends, or even strangers to make you feel like your perspective is the minority opinion. My ex never had a problem with this. Most women would appreciate what I do for them. The goal isn't to find the truth. It's to make you feel like the truth is whatever they say it is, backed by this invisible army of agreement. Social media has made triangulation easier than ever. Now, manipulators can screenshot private conversations, twist context, and rally actual people to their side by controlling the narrative. They can create real triangles, not just implied ones, by presenting a carefully edited version of events to others, who then, unknowingly, become weapons in their emotional arsenal. The defense against triangulation is surprisingly simple. Keep things direct. If someone has a problem with you, they need to talk to you, not about you. You don't need to defend yourself to people who weren't part of the original situation. You can say, if Sarah has concerns, she can talk to me directly. Right now, this conversation is between us. Refuse to engage with the invisible army. Deal with the person in front of you, using the facts you both experienced without letting phantom voices crowd the conversation. The white knight manipulation is perhaps the most confusing because it looks exactly like genuine help. Someone swoops in with solutions, comfort, and support exactly when you need it most. They seem to understand your struggles, offer perfect advice, and show up consistently when things fall apart. It feels like you found someone who truly cares, who sees your pain and wants to help heal it. But here's the dark twist. In toxic dynamics, the white knight doesn't just solve your problems, they create them. Behind the scenes, often so subtly you don't notice, they're the one lighting the fires they later rush to put out. They plant seeds of doubt about other relationships in your life, then comfort you when those relationships become strained. They undermine your confidence in small ways, then build you up just enough to keep you dependent on their validation. They create drama, confusion, or instability, then position themselves as your safe harbor in the storm they created. This manipulation is particularly insidious because it exploits your gratitude. When someone consistently helps you through difficult times, you naturally develop loyalty, appreciation, and dependence on them. You start to see them as essential to your well-being. You might even think, I don't know what I'd do without them. And that's exactly what they want you to think. The white knight needs you to need them. If you became strong, independent, and capable of handling your own problems, their role would become obsolete. So they keep you in a cycle of crisis and rescue, breakdown and repair, problem and solution. They become the drug and the dealer, the poison and the antidote. They create the wound and then carefully tend to it, making sure it never fully heals, but never gets bad enough for you to seek help elsewhere. This pattern can show up in romantic relationships where one partner consistently creates instability, then provides comfort. It appears in friendships where someone always has advice for your problems, but somehow those problems keep getting worse. It happens in family dynamics where a parent creates chaos, then positions themselves as the only source of stability. The most sophisticated white knights don't even realize they're doing it. They've convinced themselves they're genuinely helpful while unconsciously sabotaging your independence. They feel good about themselves for being needed, for being the solution, for being indispensable, without recognizing that they're preventing you from developing your own strength. Breaking free means learning to notice the pattern. Do problems seem to escalate when this person is around? Do you feel more capable when you're away from them? Do their solutions ever actually lead to lasting improvement, or do they just create temporary relief followed by new crises? Real support helps you become stronger. Manipulative help keeps you weak enough to need it. Silence can be golden, healing, necessary, but the silent treatment isn't silence at all. It's emotional warfare disguised as the absence of communication. It's what happens when someone uses their unavailability as a weapon, their withdrawal as punishment, their refusal to engage as a form of control. You've experienced this if you've ever been left hanging after a disagreement, ignored after setting a boundary, or frozen out after failing to meet someone's unspoken expectations. The silent treatment doesn't feel like space or reflection. It feels like being erased, like you've suddenly become invisible in your own relationship. The person giving the silent treatment isn't just not talking to you. They're actively withholding themselves, creating an emotional void where connection used to be. They'll look through you, respond to everyone except you, act as if you don't exist while making sure you feel the weight of their absence. This manipulation works because humans are wired for connection. When someone important to us withdraws completely, our nervous system interprets it as a threat to our survival. We'll do almost anything to restore the bond, to end the disconnection, to make things normal again. And that desperation is exactly what gives the silent treatment its power. The person using this technique doesn't have to explain themselves, defend their position, or engage in uncomfortable conversations. They just disappear emotionally, leaving you to figure out what went wrong and how to fix it. You'll find yourself replaying every interaction, analyzing every word, wondering what you did to deserve this treatment. You'll reach out, apologize for things you're not sure you did wrong, change your behavior to avoid triggering another freeze-out. This dynamic creates a relationship where one person holds all the power to determine when intimacy exists and when it doesn't. They control the temperature of the connection, and you're left trying to read invisible signals to avoid another deep freeze. The silent treatment is particularly cruel because it exploits your love and attachment against you. The more you care about the relationship, the more painful the withdrawal becomes, and the more motivated you become to do whatever it takes to end the silence. But here's what you need to understand. Healthy conflict resolution doesn't require one person to disappear. Healthy people take space when they need it, but they communicate about taking space. They say, I need time to think about this, and I'll get back to you tomorrow, not just vanish into emotional void. The antidote to the silent treatment is refusing to chase silence. You can acknowledge what's happening without feeding it. I'm here when you're ready to talk, but I won't be punished with silence. Then you hold that boundary and continue living your life. Because communication requires two willing participants, and you can't have a relationship with someone who refuses to exist in it. Breaking is the manipulation technique of our digital age, perfectly designed for a world where attention can be given in tiny, measured doses without any real commitment behind it. It's the late-night text that says, thinking of you, but never follows up with actual plans. It's the social media interaction that makes your heart skip, but leads nowhere. It's the person who keeps you in their orbit with just enough attention to maintain your interest, but never enough to actually move forward. Think of Hansel and Gretel following breadcrumbs through the forest, always finding just enough to keep going, but never quite reaching the destination. That's exactly what this manipulation creates. A trail of minimal effort that keeps you walking towards something that may not actually exist. The breadcrumber gives you just enough to hope, but never enough to feel secure. They'll send a good morning text, but won't make concrete plans for the weekend. They'll compliment you, but stay vague about their feelings. They'll suggest meeting up soon, but that soon never comes with a specific date. This technique works because it exploits the psychological principle of intermittent reinforcement. Random, unpredictable rewards are more addictive than consistent ones. It's why gambling can become compulsive, why social media notifications are designed to be sporadic, and why breadcrumbing keeps people hooked despite never delivering real satisfaction. Your brain starts anticipating the next crumb, hoping this time it might lead to the full meal you're actually hungry for. The person doing the breadcrumbing gets to keep you interested and available without having to show up consistently or make any real commitments. They get the benefits of your attention, your emotional investment, your availability, without the reciprocal investment that real relationships require. It's emotional fast food, quick, convenient, ultimately unsatisfying, but designed to keep you coming back. Breadcrumbing can happen in romantic contexts, friendships, or even professional relationships. That boss who hints at promotion opportunities but never follows through. The friend who always says you should hang out but never follows up on making plans. The romantic interest who keeps you guessing about their intentions by sending mixed signals wrapped in just enough charm to maintain your hope. The most dangerous aspect of breadcrumbing is how it trains you to accept less while hoping for more. You start normalizing minimal effort because occasional crumbs feel better than nothing at all. You lower your standards, adjust your expectations, and convince yourself that maybe this scattered attention is actually enough. But it isn't enough, and deep down, you know it. Breaking free from breadcrumbing requires recognizing the pattern and refusing to follow the trail. Consistency speaks louder than charm. Actions matter more than words. Someone who wants to be in your life will show up, not just show interest. You deserve more than crumbs. And when you stop accepting them, you make space for someone who's ready to offer the whole meal.